At Community First Credit Union, there's a lot to see. We build customized financial solutions so you can enjoy the life you want. We make it comfortable to have a conversation about what's important to you, like helping you stay on course to reach your savings goal. And what's important to us all, like helping to support causes that count. See for yourself what See First can do for you.
Good morning, everybody. Good evening, America, England, and the rest of the world. Welcome to Frightfully Good Spooky Stories, Supernatural Stories, with your host, Anne Regovich, and we've had someone step in at the last minute because someone else is stuck in traffic. Everyone say hello to Robert. He's come to join us. Had a little bit of a trauma with Robert last night. One of the dogs decided to sit on Robert, and I was concerned for the welfare of the dog after that because she didn't ask permission to sit on Robert. Anyway, we are back from 2 months of whizzing around the world. We have been, we spent the whole of April in England and Ireland, traveling around. We managed to do our naughty road trip. We started in the little town of Shenton and drove all the way up to Edinburgh and then flew across to Ireland, where we traveled around for a bit, and we met up with our Irish correspondent Danielle, and we ended up finishing up that trip in the little town of Muff. It's a delightful place. I'll tell you a little bit more about Muff later. I have a t-shirt. And yes, it is a real town in Northern Ireland. You have to forgive the cough today. We were burning incense last night, and I may have just overdone it a tad in a locked room. Not good with charcoals and things. Right, so after we finished our English and Irish trip, we then got back and we did a couple of days on the ground, and we drove off to a place called Gundagai, which some of you may have heard of the song about. There's a track winding back to an old-fashioned sack track. Oh no, I've got two songs mixed up. On the road to Gundagai. It's about and there's another one. The dog sits on the tucker box 5 or 9 miles from Gundagai. And we joined Appy team and we went on their ghost hunt. We had fun there, but that's a 6-hour drive away there and back. So it's 12 hours of driving about 3 days after we landed. Then a few days after that, we got on a plane and we flew to Melbourne, where we joined up with the Twisted History group at Old Geelong Jail, and we did some investigating and workshops and things with them there. Then we came back home, and a couple of days after that, we flew off to, where did we go after that? Norfolk Island, where we ran our first Frightfully Good haunted holiday with a group of, ended up being about 35 people. And it was fabulous. A big shout out to Liz on Norfolk Island. Big things coming for Norfolk Island, so keep your eyes and ears open. We will be running another one next year, plus maybe a few other things might be coming along. Hi, Darksiders. Hi, Lucretia B. Eka Jody. So we are waiting for Auntie Renata to get here. Does anyone have any questions on our trip whilst I'm filling till she gets here? Anyone? I'm having also a load of trouble with my mouse this morning, and just like I needed that, like a hole in the head. And of course, good old me has forgotten to set up the Canva. I am so out of practice here. It's crazy. And I'm pressing buttons and nothing's happening. There we go. We visited in England. We went to Chillingham Castle. That was wonderful. It was an amazing place to stay. It cost us an arm and a leg, but we got there. We had the Lady Grey suite, and we may have been a little bit naughty and taken a couple of books of 50 Shades of Grey with us and left them hidden in the Lady Grey suite, because we couldn't get into the torture room. They told us it was going to be open and we could investigate during the night, but it wasn't. It was all locked up. But there was a cell that we could get into. So we did a bit of investigation in there. And the cell was tiny, and it was like, we were there in April, so the cold season was passing. And really, the cell, I could have put my hand against the wall, put my back there, put my hand against the wall that way. I don't think I could have laid out flat. Very, very small, but there was a grate that you look down into it, and there was an oubliette underneath it, and there were bones down there, and they hadn't removed the bones yet, and you can actually see them down there. So we did a bit of an EVP session in there. What was that? Did you leave any in the monastery with the master? Oh, that was weird. That was weird. There was one of the places we stayed at was a monastery. It was in England, in London, and they had brochures out for weekends with the master. So, yeah, maybe not. A red room. No, that was the whole idea. We thought, Catherine, that, being Lady Grey and the Lord and Lady Grey, and they had a dungeon or a torture room, we had to leave 50 Shades of Grey in there. The thing was, we had to leave first thing in the morning to get to the airport in time to catch our flight. So I think we left there about 9 o'clock in the morning. It all opened back up about 10 a.m. in the morning. So we missed hiding it in the actual torture chamber, which I think is funny. I will get you that YouTube link shortly. We are actually getting it made up properly into proper YouTube clips, rather, because we couldn't do lives. Being in a big stone castle like that, the internet just wasn't coming through. We've basically had 2 months of shitty, excuse the French, internet. It's been really bad. And we've just got back to Australia, and now we're frantically on there trying to get things edited and put up on YouTube. There are some of our New Zealand trip that's still up there, and there's a cracker one coming up Sunday night Australian time. So subscribe over there. I think it's, and can one of our people do a cut and paste of the YouTube link, please? So we have got some stories prepared for you today. And as I was saying, Renata should be here any second. Let me check the phone. While we're waiting, let me know where you guys are all from. So we are from Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia, but you can't tell by the accent. Where are you guys all from? She says 2 minutes, and that was about 5 minutes ago. Thank you, Lucretia B. Bloody marvellous. Bloody marvellous. Oh, we did meet up with some amazing people in Northern Ireland. We met up with the Shadow Hunters, and they reached out to us when they found out we were coming to Belfast, and they organised a night with their team, and we went to an old weaving mill where we did some investigations, and they were telling us about the horrible history that was in Ireland with the Troubles, and then also the fabric. That would be Renata, and that's my dog. All right, Matt. I know, she's coming in. She's coming in. Oh, we've got to give kisses to Auntie Renata first before they allow her to walk through the door. Everyone, say farewell to Robert. He's done a marvellous job of doing that for us. Isn't he beautiful? I just want to hug him. Had bad traffic, huh?
Bloody hell. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
It's the late Renata Rekovic. No, Rekovic. Daniel, geez, that was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it?
My goodness.
I've set the alarm for 8:15. I meant to set it for 7:45. I set it for 8:15, and I've woken up just a little late, considering the show is at 9. And I'm not prepared, Renata. What was your favourite part about the trip? It doesn't necessarily have to be a haunted location. What was your favourite part while I set up Canva?
Leaving home. Leaving home.
Right. I reckon if you're watching.
running away.
It was good, wasn't it?
Running away and seeing the rest of the world and seeing how the rest of the world is actually coping with what is going on at the moment and how things are around. So, yes, absolutely. Everything else was a bonus. Things surprised me. Things didn't surprise me. People's energies were interesting to sort of come across and to look at and be a part of. So it's amazing how the rest of the world is coping differently with what's been happening with the whole COVID thing over the last 2 years and how it has affected other places in the world. So it was really interesting to see, actually, because we are far away here. Hello.
Cool.
We are far away
I
here.
love Renata.
And, we kind of tend to sort of live in our own little bubble. So, yeah.
So who's his first time here on the Supernatural Stories with Anne and Renata? Just a little bit about ourselves. I'm a paranormal investigator. I own Oz Paratech, which is Australia's largest online paranormal equipment store. I've been doing paranormal investigation for the last probably 11 years now. And I've been working with this one for the last 6 years, I'd say by now.
Yes.
It's been a while, that cruise. Welcome, Erin. We are a little crazy and sometimes we are a little inappropriate. This is the channel we behave ourselves the most on, though. It gives you an idea.
So we don't want to scare people away from overseas. Hi, Sky.
Right, so I have now got the thing ready to go. Hopefully it's going to share. Shall I pop it up for you?
Yes, thank you. Oh, Jodie, every time is like the first time. Oh, that's so sweet.
I'm just going to get back up into here and I'm just going to check that has now changed channel. It has. So Renata, you can tell them all about that.
Yes, so a reminder and a small plug for one of the other things that we do that we are so very, very proud of, and that is the True Hauntings podcast, which comes out every Friday morning, more or less, depending if we've got all of our ducks in a row, as they say.
And thanks to Bonnie.
And I think we're up to episode 73 at the moment, and it is about Waverly Hills Sanatorium. So if you go to Spotify or iTunes, you will find True Hauntings podcast with Anne and Renata. That's all you need to put in. And you will find our list of podcasts, like I said, up to 73.
That's crazy.
And we want you to be a part of our listener community and jump on every Friday and listen to the madness of the podcast, which is all that I can say. It is madness.
It is madness, yep. I'd say that's the second best behaved one. Would you agree?
Sometimes not. I listened to our last one that we did prior to this one, and it took about 2 minutes for me to start laughing.
Yeah, that's right. There was one that we went really early on.
Yeah.
Anyway, what today's show about is different spooky stories from around the world, ghosts or weird things, and we'd like to share it with you through the eyes of a paranormal investigator. So, Renata, I do believe you've got the first story for today.
Okay, so our first story is one that I came across. A thank you to Haunted Scotland for this one. And I do remember hearing it a number of years ago. So when I came across it and started reading it, it wasn't familiar until about halfway through the story. And this is the legend of Sorneybean. Very interesting. So let me get into this story for you. So look, you can forget people like Hannibal Lecter as your cannibal of the moment. When we think about cannibals, we kind of think, well, that's all been done and dusted and no one does that because it's just horrible. But, you know, you'll always find someone that does something that's really horrid in the world. I'm sure as hard as it is to say, yeah, that thing still happens. I think people still pay for it. I don't know. Weird. But anyway, there was a Caledonian cannibal called Sorneybean.
Caledonian cannibal.
Yeah, I can't even say it. Caledonian cannibal. Sorneybean, who was a very interesting character. Now, whether he is myth, legend, or reality, don't know. I'll let you look up the information and see what you find about him. So, but according to his legend, the Bean clan killed and ate 1,000 people in a 25-year reign of terror while hiding out in a sea cave on Scotland's west coast. There you go. Now, I guess we've got to remember that a couple of hundred years ago, times were very, very tough. And people didn't have a lot to eat. Now, that doesn't excuse anyone.
No, that doesn't mean just because you're hungry and there's no food in the cupboard doesn't mean you can go and eat someone in the house.
It does not. It does not. But, you know, this is an odd story. So, as with all of these tales, really little is known about the early life of Alexander Sorneybean. I love that name, Sorneybean, because in actual fact, we don't know whether he was real or not, or the myth has grown out of something that happened so long ago. You know what it's like when you sort of have a myth or legend occurring over many years. It goes a little bit crazy. It's most commonly told that he was born in Lothian, which is part of Scotland, during the 16th century, having trained as a tanner, so someone who tans leather. And he fell in love with a lady named Agnes Douglas, but the young couple were forced to leave their home due to persistent rumours that Agnes was a witch. Oh, that's blaming.
Passing the buck.
Passing the buck, yeah, passing the
Just
buck.
because they don't like someone, they call them a witch and let's burn them.
Yes.
Look how sad she is in that picture. She's dejected.
Yeah,
she's dragging off the legs into the cave all by herself.
I know.
She's so sad.
And he's just standing there going, darling, I've done my bit. I've cut his legs off. What else do you want? Anyway, they eventually found a refuge in a sea cave, now referred to as Benany Cave, or simply Sorneybean's Cave, which sits south of the town of Girvan in Ayrshire in Scotland. Wish I'd known about this when we were there. I'd find it. I don't have a lot of pictures, people, because, you know.
They didn't have cameras back then.
That is true. So, yes, you will see a few repeats, pardon moi, but this on the right-hand side here is an image of the coastline. Yeah, the cave offered the perfect place for the couple to hide. Not only was the entrance difficult to get to, but once inside, there was a series of natural tunnels carved into the rock, making it difficult for anyone not familiar with them to find their way around. In addition, the sea still flooded the mouth of the cave twice a day, concealing the cave and limiting access from the outside world. Yet there was, of course, a problem. The couple still needed to eat, and unable to find work, they decided to take full advantage of the remoteness of their chosen residence. This is when things get a little bit crazy. So above the cliffs that they were hiding in lay a path connecting to the local villages. and Sawney took to robbing unsuspecting travellers as they passed. That in itself created another problem, because all of these repeated reports of robberies on the same stretch of coastline started to bring the authorities looking for who this could be that was creating this drama. So, robbery stopped and turned into murder. Now, of course, this was because the people that were being robbed could no longer go to the local police and report what was happening. So, yes, it was probably better to rob the people, murder them, and then get rid of the bodies. So as long as they could keep the number of victims relatively low, then the locals would assume that the poor unfortunate travellers probably stumbled over the cliff top path and maybe they fell to their death and they were just swept out to sea. But we know that something else was going on. Now, this, of course, only would work for a short time. Nothing like this lasts forever. It is very hard to, I guess, hide your tracks when people start losing their lives once again on the same part of a cliff face or a pathway. But the Bean family started to grow as Sawney and Agnes began to have children. My goodness, this would have just made everything 1,000 times worse. This is a really incredible story if it were true. That's what I'm saying, especially when I tell you how many children they ended up having. So with more mouths to feed, more money was needed, which led to more robberies needing to take place. And of course, more robberies needing to take place led to more deaths needing to occur. So the risk of them being seen buying more and more food would start to raise questions about where they were getting the money from. These places were tiny little villages, remember, and everyone knew everything that was going on. So they didn't want suspicion to start to come to their front door. Well, they didn't have a front door because they had a cave, so the front of their cave. And the increased number of people going missing was again something that did raise suspicion, and there began to be people snooping about. So whatever went through their minds would never be known, but Sawney and Agnes appear to have decided that rather to buy more food to feed the family, they would instead cook and eat their victims.
Oh, I hope they did good crackle. Well, if you're going to eat them, you might as well do a good job.
That's just horrible.
I know.
So every now and again, body parts were said to be swept up on the nearby beaches, which, although raising some suspicion, fell into the belief that people were falling to their deaths and their bodies were being mangled by the sea and on the rocks below. Now, I don't know whether Scotland has sharks, but that would have been great.
Noms.
But I don't think Scotland has sharks. I'm not sure whether anything lives in the water in Scotland. It's too bloody cold.
They've got an ocean. There'll be something.
Right. So all seemed to be going well for the family. They carefully chose their victims, watching from afar to ensure that they were travelling alone before being attacked, until one fateful day when they came across and chose the wrong man. He was skilled at fighting and managed to defend himself long enough for his cries to alert others who came to help. Some versions say he had a pistol which he was able to discharge as a call for help. Pew, pew, help me. Don't know. The Bean family fled back to their cave, but their cover was blown.
That's it. They're done for.
Run away! With it apparent that all of the disappearances were not unfortunate accidents, a hunting party was put together to track down these assailants. Oh, could you imagine the story in the villages?
We've got to hunt for the Bean.
Oh, Some say the case was presented to King James the Sixth himself, who led the hunting party. I bet he would have. Would have been
This would have been big.
The biggest scandal ever.
Yeah, it's bigger than Amber Heard and Johnny Depp for sure.
Jesus, I know. Don't you just love this diagram? Isn't it like?
Oh, it's like going to the butcher's.
That's just crazy. Yes. So eventually, the family were found deep inside the cave network. Yet
I reckon I can feed a family for a month on my meat.
No one was prepared for what they discovered inside. Right. So, wait till you hear this. Sorney and Agnes had produced 14 children of their own.
What?
Who in turn gave them 32 grandchildren. So this is 32 grandchildren, 14 children, so that's 46. Yeah, 46. Plus them, 48 people living in these caves.
And they've had to feed them all on human flesh.
Yes.
And the kids wouldn't have thought anything wrong about that. That's how they were brought up. They wouldn't know any different.
All were living in the darkness of the cave, surrounded by human bones, with human body parts hung from hooks in the roof of the cave and flesh pickled for storage.
Oh, God. We're ready for winter.
Piles of personal clothing and belongings from those who had gone missing over the past decades were also found. The Bean family were taken from the cave and transported to Edinburgh, where, with the weight of evidence against them making a trial irrelevant, they were executed.
Did they feed them beans in confinement? Does that make them even more of a cannibal? Because they're the Bean family and they ate beans?
No.
Okay.
No.
I thought it was funny.
No. There is, of course, very little information to confirm whether the story of Sorneybean and his Sorneybean and his cannibalistic family is even true.
But it's a great story.
It's a great story, and why should truth ever stand in the way of a great story?
Yeah, true.
There are no official documents to cover the events, yet the family have been written about in numerous publications. There are two for you to peruse.
Cannibal family of Sorneybean.
Over the centuries, and the tale passed down through successive generations, which is probably grown and grown and grown with the number of children and family and everything. There are probably just two of them with a poor child. But anyway, versions of the story do, however, vary massively from the time, era, place of Sorney's birth, the final victim. Some versions state it was a husband and wife, and while the wife was killed, the husband fought them off, and even the place of execution.
It's one of those stories, like, when somebody goes fishing and they say they caught a fish this big, and then it becomes that big.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden it's massive. They couldn't fit it on the truck to bring it home.
Yep. It is also sometimes told that one of the granddaughters was spared due to being an infant, and she went on to lead a normal life, completely unaware of her murderous parents' past. If true,
sort of unusual taste for bacon.
If true, that could mean there is still a descendant somewhere of Sorneybean out there today. Whatever the real origins of the story are, visitors to the cave report hearing strange sounds, like chattering of teeth or gnawing on a bone, leading it to be said that the phantom of Sorneybean has returned to the place of his crimes forever, continuing to eat the flesh of his victims. The tale has gone on to inspire films such as The Hills Have Eyes.
Ah, yeah.
I haven't seen that, so I don't know. And Rig and Turn, as well as novels and a modern retelling of the story in Sorney, Flesh of Man.
What a great story. I was in a movie that was sort of The Hills Have Eyes sort of feel to it. It's a bit disturbing.
So these are my sauces.
Tomato sauce, barbecue sauce, aioli.
Mm-hmm. And I hope that you enjoyed the tale of Sorneybean. I hope you have had your dinner or breakfast or wherever.
Grab that for a second. Thank you. And I'm just going to pop back up into StreamYard. We'll pop that back out. I couldn't get into everyone's comments because when I went to look at StreamYard, I signed into StreamYard on my phone, and I seem to be in the account of the Spirit Realm Network. I can't find my own account, which is odd. All you can eat. Merry meet Joseph, welcome, and we're burning some lovely stuff here at the moment. Send you all good wishes. Just about to say it sounds like the Hill Have Eyes. Yeah, the one I did was Beast No More. We were trying to remember it the other day. I had to look it up, and I was a hillbilly, and there was a bit of weird stuff going on in there.
Now, I have not seen The Hills Have Eyes, so I'm going to have to go and check that out.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyone else think that one was a little disturbing? It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it was a little disturbing. All right. I'll just quick whiz back up through there and see if there's any questions that anyone had for us.
Oh, please have no questions, please.
The hounds approve of you coming back.
I do not want to answer questions on this story.
It's like the first time. So you eat right. You can take my message. Oh, sorry about that, Erin. Live chats. Yeah, that's what I couldn't get to the live chat to be able to do that today, so it was a bit odd. Oh, thank you, Donna. Crazy. I love how you guys are all saying hello to each other on here. You all know each other so well. And we'll get down to where we're up to now, because I think that's all there is. I like it. Sandy goes, I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Thank you, Sandy. And for our beautiful American friends, if you could share our show now that we are back and here every Friday morning, it would be greatly appreciated, because we would love to have some extra fans in America and in England. It would be awesome. Thank you so much.
So I've got a little bit of incense burning there. It's meant to be a backflow one. It's meant to drop down through the castle and have all the smoke through it, but it just seems to be making a lot of smoke instead, which is probably not good. I might put it out in a second. Anyway, let's get on with the show. This has become one of our favourite things to do, and Renata has actually done this one today. She's done a great job. Yeah, okay. Set my asthma off. Oh, Renata, just stub it out like a cigarette. That's it.
Stub it out like a cigarette.
Stub it out.
Stub it
Set
out.
me off. So pareidolia is when you look at a picture and your brain will create it looks at random patterns and will create a picture out of it with your brain. Normal human tendency to impose meaningful interpretations on vague visual stimuli so that one sees an object, pattern, or meaning where there is none. Example, seeing faces in the cloud or a pattern on a particular image, usually visual, so that one sees an object or pattern where there is none. We see this a lot on the pages where people put their photos up of orbs and things and shadow patterns and go, oh, there's a demon in my house, and everyone goes, yes, you've got a demon in your house, and none of them actually have any knowledge. They're just all agreeing because that's the picture they see. But this is a really great one.
It's not more knowledge than anything. It is the fact that everyone loves drama.
Yep.
And they're hoping that you have a demon rather than they have a demon. And people...
My demon's more powerful than your demon. It's gonna eat my soul. What's your demon gonna do?
And people are actually scared to say it's not a demon. It's just your mind connecting some few visual images together. That's it.
And I like what you put down the other day is that if you are seeing faces and things in patterns and pictures, it means that your brain is wired up the correct way.
Yeah.
And because you're meant to see these things so you can determine whether it's a threat or whether it's just a random pattern.
Yep. So we have this superpower. It is a skill that is required to keep us safe. So it's fine, but don't make everything a demon, for goodness sake, or I'll have to find you wherever you are in the world and come over and slap you.
So she'll be up for a lawsuit. Lovely.
So there is a universal tendency among mankind to conceive all beings like themselves. You must be like me, because I'm the only one on this earth that matters.
Special.
And to transfer to every object those qualities with which they are familiar and acquainted, and of which they have intimate consciousness. We find human faces in the moon, armies in clouds, and by a natural propensity, if not corrected by experience and reflection, ascribe a malice or goodwill to everything that hurts or pleases us. I love that.
That's
and that
beautiful.
Was written by David Hume, who is a Scottish historian, philosopher, and economist. Now, you may be acquainted with Rorschach ink blot tests, where psychiatrists will bring out a number of ink blots. So ink on a page that has been folded. The ink makes a pattern. You open it up and you ask, as a psychiatrist, your patient, what do you see? And depending on the health of their mind, they may see good things, they may see nothing, or they may see the worst horrible demonic creatures that the world has ever created. And this gives the psychiatrist a real view into the workings of that particular human mind.
Oh my God.
And what is going on in there.
So if people are seeing demonic things in these pictures, which is just pareidolia, it's actually giving an insight into the state of their mind, just like these ink blots.
Yep.
And it's showing that they're under duress or stress of some form or other, not necessarily demonic or spiritual, but something within the home.
Yes.
That's causing them to be stressed. And like there might be a husband and wife who are at each other's throats, or a child that is stressing you out because they're taking drugs or doing something, or there's somebody in the family that's harming someone else, and they start to see demons everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
so
never thought of it that way. Thank you.
This could also be a childhood thing, because many people suffer from childhood stresses. And so for a psychiatrist to be using Rorschach tests, and there are word association tests that do the same thing. So you can do a word association test, and depending on the word that the client comes up with, that is the association, or whether they stop at a particular word, will tell you the health of the mind and what the problem may stem from.
Wow.
So if you say cloud, and the first word is fluffy, so it's like, what's the first word that comes into your mind? Cloud, fluffy.
Someone else might say lightning.
Yeah, fridge, food,
electrocution,
house, home, evil. Right?
Satan.
So it's the first word that comes into the mind, and you can't stop and think. If you stop and think, what's happening is you're blocking that first word,
right?
And you're trying to make a word that is going to be
what the other person wants to hear,
what the other person
or what
wants to
you
hear.
think they're expecting you should say.
Right. So these tests are really super cool, but they really do offer this insight into what's happening with the mind.
So as we're saying, it is good if you can see the faces in there, because your brain needs to be able to register whether this is fight or flight, but then it's using your logic to work out, is it something that is going to threaten and hurt me, or is it my brain adapting that image, and is it because I'm under stress that I'm seeing these things? Normally you wouldn't. You'd walk straight past it and keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you're hypersensitive to your surroundings because you are living in anxiety, stress, or fear, then
Jumanji.
Yeah, it's going to be something that you need to sort out.
Mm.
So, first picture,
Oh, I love
which
it.
is once you see this, you can't unsee it, which is just something again that the mind does.
I know who that is. Who knows who that looks like? Write it in the comments. It's a certain character.
No, I don't know.
You can't see it.
So this is actually was spotted
Hey, Sandy.
by someone who was walking through the woods in Germany, and it is in a German state forest, and they took this photo, which was like awesome.
Oh, yeah, it could be E.T. Yeah, I thought it looked like the Grinch. Yeah, the Grinch from Dr. Seuss, the movie.
Possibly.
Yeah, all right.
Oh! That's terrible.
Oh, dear. What is it?
Isn't it terrible?
Well, it's from Russia, wherever it is.
It's terrifying.
It's $200 or 200 rubles.
Oh,
I think it's meant to be a cake or something.
I don't know whether it's a cake or whether it's a slab of meat, but goodness gracious. Isn't that horrendous? Oh. Now, this is one of the typical ones that we see, people, isn't it? Shadow of a ghost. People see this all the time. Now, tell me that you see a person there. So you've got the head, the eyes, the nose, the mouth. You go down and you've got the torso, which is where most of the light is. And then we're seeing a kind of a shadow to the left side of the body, if you're looking from the right way. And so there is kind of this person that looks like they've got their hands up and they're screaming. They're about to come at you. So this is a fabulous, fabulous example of pareidolia, where in actual fact, it's just the leaves and the sun creating a shadow on on curtains. It looks like on curtains or blinds.
Groot.
So yeah, it's crazy, but it is a shadow, Maxine. It is not a demon. It is not.
There are
anything,
no ghosts there.
It is not anything paranormal. It is our brain going, those shadows and those shapes make this picture, which I understand looks like a person, looks like someone exactly like me.
Okay, I'm just trying to get my mouse to go back up to the other one.
So sorry, guys, but it is pareidolia, and I love this one because the more you look like it, the more you look at it, the more you actually see the person. And of course, this one is great. Not the flower candle, because I hate that one, and that's a funny one to end up on.
Yeah, we actually spotted some pareidolia while we were away, didn't we? We took some photos. We'll have to put our pareidolia up to show people.
Sorry, it's hot. I'm getting rid of mine.
Hang on. Just hold this down while you...
Sorry.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right, I'm hoping we've got time to do mine.
Oh.
That's okay, because we can leave it till next week. It means I don't have to work next week. I think we're good, though. All right. I found this story attached to something else Renata had sent me for our True Hauntings podcast. I went, oh, that's really interesting. So this is the fire mummies of Timback Cave. So the Kabayan mummies, also known as the fire mummies, were intentionally preserved through a mummification process that was believed to originate from 2000 BC. Yep. Oh, this is just driving me nuts. So if you think of the Egyptian mummies, they're around 2800 BC. However, the mummies found thus far have been dated between the 1200s, come on mouse work, and the 1500s BC or BCE. So I always get these confused. So which is the older? Is it the Egyptian ones or these ones?
The Egyptian ones. So
these
are in the 1500s.
Right. So
500, 600 years ago.
But this is in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere near Egypt. Just trying to get over. Come on, change screens. Now, I have to warn you, there will be a mummified remains of adults and possibly children will be shown in this presentation. So if you are uncomfortable with that, I would look away. I'll give you a warning when we're about to get some mummified remains coming up.
Oh, thank you. Well, I was just talking about cannibalism and I said absolutely nothing. But anyway.
But you didn't show pictures of actual dead people. You showed paintings. I've got real photos of the actual coffins and the mummies.
Yeah, well, let me bring out next week that when they dig up their dead and dress them all up for their day out of the coffin. It's the coffin day out.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Next week?
Well, no, I can do it.
Okay.
In Indonesia, they dig up
That's
their loved ones and
I love that one.
Bring them up.
It's a great story.
It's
now, the best
horrendous.
mummies, if you want to go and have a look at these mummies, you can.
No!
Renata, we did. We're not these particular ones. We looked at the ones under St. Nicholas Church in Dublin.
Yeah, I know, that was weird.
But they were just there. We could have actually reached out.
No, we didn't, and we didn't take any photos.
No. We wouldn't do that.
No, none.
When the people left the room, left us down there all by ourselves.
No.
But we did not touch anything because I just couldn't. So you can. It's a long hike from the town of Cabayan. And they say it's the third highest peak of Luzon. Aside from the mummies, the grueling climb from Cabayan town to the Timbuk caves entertain hikers with majestic views. I thought this was a really funny description because they've got this grueling hike, but they've got these majestic views. The Agno River and a stopover at Tinong Shoal Burial Rock, which is a 3-story high boulder where ancient Ibaloi carved out the holes to interred their dead in wooden coffins. But the best preserved mummies can be found in the Timbuk caves. Now, they're located 1,200 meters above. That's over a kilometer straight up. So the air will be thin. You could be hallucinating up there in the sacred caves. Now, the locals normally, before they go into these caves, will make an offering of gin and pinnick picken. Sounds like that stuff we drank in Romania. What was it? Palinka. So they make an offering before entering the caves. The caves are very small. Inside the cave there is about 12 coffins with about 30 mummies. There are many other caves in the mountains, but only the old people know where they are. So the locals don't give out that information as freely, because I'll explain why shortly, why they now keep this information quiet. So we're getting close to an opening here. The next slide after this will be some of the mummies. So unlike the Egyptian mummification process, which removed all the internal organs after death, and they used natron to dry the body over a period of approximately 70 days, wait till you find out how they do this. Now, there was an article from Reuters. Did I say it right this time? Because I normally say Reuters and I get in trouble. In 1999, the process begins several weeks before, whilst the person is still alive. You heard that? Right, so they start the process by drying the insides out. And prior to death, several weeks before, right, they start to give the person salty water to drink, which then dehydrates them. So, if you're grandma and you're feeling a bit unwell, they suddenly start to bring you around salty water to drink. You know you're up poop creek without a paddle. They're getting ready to turn you into a mummy. How would you feel? It's like, oh no, I'm just got a cold. Please, no, I don't need that. No. Right, warning, here comes the photos. So once death occurred, the body was washed and composed in a tight seated position. The body was exposed to a heat of a fire until the exterior was dried out. To dry the internal organs, who had this job? Put my hand up for this job.
This
they
gives you a different meaning about blowing smoke up your ass.
Tobacco smoke was blown into the body through the corpse's mouth. I don't know what you're thinking. Right, so they went into the dead person's mouth. Once the body was dried outside and inside, they were given a nice massage of herbs, or herbs, as we say in America. The mummified body was placed into a small wooden coffin and placed in a cave up on the slopes of Mount Timbuk. So you can see how small they were. I don't know if some of them may have been children, some of them may have been adults, because some of them are a wee bit small. All right, can I get this to go across? Come on, mouse, you can do it. All right, so this is where we get into our ghost stories. Superstition pervades throughout the area, of course. The people of the area believe they had been cursed by the loss of one of their tribal elders, Apo Anu, who was stolen at some point between 1918 and 1920. And guess who they think did it? A Christian pastor decided they were going to take a little memento home. Let's not go there. Right. They say that Apo Anu lived approximately 500 years prior to this exhumation of his body. And he was probably one of the last leaders that was mummified in the traditional mummification ritual. They don't still do it to this day. And they think that possibly it was only leaders of the tribe that were mummified.
So
apparently, and look at the tattoos.
Yes.
On the skin. And it looks like there was a whole family that was placed in there, because that one does look like a child. So it was reported that Apo Anu was reported to be an attraction at a carnival due to the elaborate body tattoos, before he was eventually donated back to the National Museum of the Philippines. Thank heavens. That's just wrong. You don't go and disturb someone else's burial sites for a souvenir. In 1984, Apo Anu was honoured with a burial ceremony before being returned to his coffin and his original burial site. Security was then put into place with iron gratings so that his resting place was not disturbed again. Apparently, it was a thing. There was many of these mummies that disappeared. And like just recently, we were at Norfolk Island, and there is a fantastic museum up there called the Bounty Folk Museum. And Norfolk Island used to be a tax haven for multimillionaires, because they didn't have the GST or charge taxes or anything until about 2006, when Australia took over managing the island for them, because they were running out of money and they needed help. And one of the local people there, who was one of these millionaires in their tax haven, had to take his collection, and he could only take so much with him, so he donated some to the Bounty Museum. And in there is an Egyptian mummified hand. And we actually have that on YouTube. If you have a look, we went up there and we did some videoing around the museum, and I think that one is not too badly pixelated, but they've encased it in sort of like a perspex, because it was disintegrating, but they've left the back half sort of out so you can put your hand on. Yeah. So additional 8 mummies were returned to the caves in 2004, and that's what I was saying, that they think that the leaders were the ones. Adding to the number, 100 or so mummies are still intact in their burial caves, led to the non-profit organisation Monument Watch to declare the caves one of the 100 most endangered sites in 1998. So thank heavens that UNESCO is now considering making these caves a World Heritage Site, which Norfolk Island is.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, we've got 3 minutes. I think we're just going to make it in. So some of the best mummies that may be viewed by visitors are a long hike from Cabian, as I said, and you can get up there and have a look. Caves, I'll put all that in before, but those ones are sort of positioned, and that seems to have like a rail cart or something going through the middle there.
It's like a carnival ride.
I know it says that it was from the caves, but I'm dubious about that one because none of them are actually put into their little wooden coffins that they said they'd carve for them. So I put that up there as a little bit of a red herring, because even though it said it was the fire mummies, I don't think it was. So that's my resources that I used there, if anyone is interested in those. And of course, that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you for joining us. And don't forget, you can find more hilarity on our YouTube channel. We have TikTok. We don't do much with it, but it's there. Instagram and True Hauntings podcast, and become part of our family on the Anne and Renata Frightfully Good family group. Just request to join, and you can become part of that and join in on those shenanigans as well. I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation.
Yeah, great evening entertainment for you, or a great morning session for those on the dark side or the light side of the globe at the moment. And those on the dark side, you're going to go to bed and have nightmares.
Don't forget, you can share this presentation around, let people know about the Spirit Realm Network and the great work they are doing. We thank you for joining us today, and we will be back next week with some more spooky stories. If you'd like to make a suggestion of some creepy stories, please let us know. If you want to send us a postcard, you can do that too now, because we've got a dedicated address which you can find on our website, anneandrenata.com, or you can find on our Frightfully Good group page and our Anne and Renata Frightfully Good page on Facebook. Thank you to those people. Sky, I think you're one of them, who has sent us some postcards already. We are loving them, aren't we? We feel so special. Thanks, guys. We're going to head off, and we will see you next week. See you on the dark side. Bye. Stay spooky.